Hello, everybody. Welcome to Popping the Popcorn. Today, we will be talking about Disney movies through the decades. So this would be like Disney movies from the 1940s to like the 50s to the 80s till now. And if you would like to help support the show, please go to Patreon/Popping the Popcorn. And I would like to thank Josh and Amy and Dana from the Run Eat Drink podcast. And I'm your host of Popping the Popcorn. I'm Katie, and today I'm here with my friend Shawna. How you doing, Shawna?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for today's episode.
I am too. Thanks for having me so much. I'm a big movie buff, so this is like right in my wheelhouse.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm a huge movie buff too, as everybody knows.
Yeah,
Everybody knows I have movie reviews and I have show reviews. I'm kind of both, I guess.
right.
So what's your favorite thing about Disney movies or going to Disney, or what do you like most about it?
I guess it's just like nostalgic. Like it's something that I'll always remember, like who I went to see it with, like at the first time, like at the movie theaters, or like what was going on in like my life at the time, or just how that movie like made me feel, like if it made me feel happy, if it made me feel sad, and I don't know, it just kind of just fits in my life, and like I just kind of like live vicariously, I guess, like through the movies. So it's just I don't know, I just love it. So
All right. Yeah, I think we can all relate to Disney movies in some way or some shape or form just because those movies are like everybody knows Disney movies and they're such classic movies as well.
right. Never get
And
never get old.
no, they don't. And some of them still hold up today, some of them not so much. It just depends on what movie it is.
Right. Definitely some underrated movies that are out there that a lot of people don't know about that you and I have talked before that we really like. So, yeah.
Yes, I'm sure I have a lot of Disney underrated movies on this list.
Yeah.
So we will be getting a little bit into about each movie and what our overall thoughts are of the movie. And hopefully maybe this weekend on because all these movies are on Disney Plus. So hopefully maybe this weekend we can help you guys find something to watch.
Yeah.
So, what order do you want to go into? Do you want to go into the 1940s first, or what
Yeah,
did you want to do?
we can start with the classics like the 1930s through the 70s. That
Okay,
sounds
we can
about
do
right.
that. Okay, so what is first on your list, or what movie do you like?
My first from the 1930s through the 1970s would be The Sword and the Stone. And it came out in 1963. I love this movie because of like Merlin and Wart's relationship and how they change into like the squirrels. That's like one of my most favorite Disney scenes like ever. I love how they change into the birds and the fish, and then I love the scene toward the end where Merlin and Madame Mim fight, and they change into everything, and like they're fighting each other, and then of course when Arthur pulls the sword out of the stone, and I love doing that every time we go to Disney too. It's just one of my favorite things to
Right.
pose
Yeah,
with.
I wish Disney would have more Sword in the Stone stuff, just because it only has that one right next to the carousel. I wish they would have like a little bit more. Disney need more the
Sword
Sword
in
in the Stone,
Yeah,
because it's a good movie, and you can kind of learn a lesson in that movie. I think everybody can kind of learn a lesson in that movie they they just like life lessons a little bit in that movie as well.
right.
And I like the part when she turns into like the sickness, and and,
She
and I
gets the spots.
yeah, and it's just a funny scene, and Arthur's just like looking like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah.
And then at one point she turns into a dragon as well.
Yeah, I love that's probably my favorite thing that she turns into is the dragon. So, yeah.
And yeah, it's a classic. It's such a classic Disney movie. It still holds up today. Just some of the dialogue might be a little bit different, just because that
Right.
movie was so long ago. But it's still classic, and you can watch it on Disney Plus if you have. the kid, if you have the adult version, it is not on the kids version
Okay.
of Disney Plus. So if you have the adult version, it's on
Good
the
to
adult version. Yeah. So because they took out a lot of that content on the kids version. So all the older movies are basically on the adult version.
Yeah.
So mine is Fantasia, even though that it came out in 1940. And this is just like no talking, and it just has like really good music, and I just think it's so well drawn for that time. Do you have any thoughts on Fantasia?
Fantasia is actually one of my least favorite classic movies.
Oh, okay.
It is. I get kind of bored, I guess, with just the music instead of there being dialogue from the characters. But I love the show at Disney that is kind of based around Fantasia. What's
Fantasmic.
Yeah, Phantasmic. I love it. So I don't know why I like one over the other, but
Well,
it's
I think it's because it also has to do with like don't forget it's kind of like classical music in Fantasia, and Fantasmic has basically all the old movies plus all the new movies in it, and the fireworks probably keep your attention, and the explosives and stuff.
right. Yeah.
And
And all the
Phantaz
smells.
yeah. I'm excited for when they bring Fantasmic back to Hollywood studios, just because that's such a great show.
Yeah.
What I like is when Mickey is being the sorcerer Mickey in this movie, and he makes all the like all the mops and brooms dance and stuff.
That is
It's so
fun. That's
cool.
that's probably my part that I like about it. So,
And
and
then
it's
he and what else? Go ahead.
oh, it's not that I dislike Fantasia. It's just it's my least favorite. So I
Right.
still would watch it and enjoy
Right.
it. So
Right. Like, I think this is one of those movies where if you're a music lover, then you would like it more, I think.
mhm.
But if you're not so much of a music lover, you're not gonna like it as much, I think.
Yeah,
That's my opinion on it.
yeah,
Like classical music, if you don't like it as much. And then I also like when Mickey's on the cliff and he makes the water go. It just reminds me of like when Noah spreaded the water in the Bible. So I just like that part. It's really cool how he just like makes the water go up when he's on the cliff in that movie
yeah.
as well. So what is your second? What is your second?
Well, some of my other favorites, and I don't really have like a second and third favorite just because like I kind of consider them all equal, but from the 1930s through the 1970s, Pinocchio came out in 1940, Dumbo in 1941, and Robin Hood in 1973. Um, and it's funny how I didn't pick a princess movie as one of my top, like,
Right.
but I just like Dumbo it's just it's so heartwarming, and Pinocchio is great because it teaches life lessons and how Pinocchio shouldn't lie, and like Geppetto, and it's got really cool characters in it. And then Robin Hood is just I just love all the animals in it and the names of the animals and just the whole storyline and how it's kind of based on his historical um,
Right.
things too. So
Out of that bunch, my least favorite is Pinocchio. I do not like that movie just because I'm like, why are they smoking? Why is he turning into a donkey? Why
yeah,
are they in a bar? Why are they drunk? And I'm like, this is a kids movie.
yeah,
Okay, why do they have all this stuff?
yeah,
But I do like the life lessons in the movie. I just don't That's just like one of my least favorite Disney movies.
right.
Also, a lot of people are going to be mad at me about this, but I do not like Jungle Book either.
I don't either. That is actually, yeah, my my absolute least favorite movie. I fall asleep every time I watch it. I can't stay asleep through or stay awake through it. It just cannot keep my attention.
Right. I mean, like, I like some of the details in Jungle Book, and I do like some of the characters. I just don't know what it is about that movie. I just don't like it.
Yeah. I like the spin-off cartoons that they've made as a result of Jungle Book. Like I loved Tailspin growing up. I love that TV show with like
Oh,
Baloo in it. That's one of my favorite TV shows that Disney has done, like as far as animated, and I loved it growing up. So I don't, you know,
Right. Me too. I love that one too. Dumbo, I like Dumbo because you can learn a life lesson in there not to make fun of people just because they're different. And I think Dumbo relies with me a lot because I used to get made fun of a lot in school and stuff, and when I was younger, teenager, and middle school and high school. So
me
I can
too.
kind of relate to Dumbo.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I can relate to that, and it's not nice to pick on people, and everyone's always got something different about them than somebody else, and we shouldn't make fun of it. We should almost, celebrate it
Right.
or
Right.
embrace it. So
But I did not like the Tim Burton's version of Dumbo just because um I miss Timothy Mouse. That's like my favorite character in
I
Dumbo.
missed the crows too, and the live action Dumbo. I
Mhm.
really miss the crow scene. I love that scene and the song "When I Can See an Elephant Fly." I love that song. So
Right. I mean, like Dumbo, the live action was okay. I just some parts I didn't agree with. That's all.
yeah,
And then Robin Hood, I like Robin Hood just because the characters are so well written, and the storyline to this is really well, as like how the sheriff is, and and they're like basically like foxes, I think, almost, right? They're
yeah.
foxes.
I think Robin Hood and Maid Marian are fox, and then like you've got Sir Hiss. You've got um, the king that sucks his thumb. Like it's just hilarious. So,
Right. Yeah, and he's like a tiger, and he's like, out of Robin Hood, he's like my favorite character because he's just so funny.
yeah. Yeah,
You
he
know.
cracks me up, like, the way he acts like a toddler, and here he is like the king, supposed to be like
Right.
the king of England or Nottingham, and so, yeah, it's pretty funny.
Right, yeah. So I have Peter Pan. I know you don't really like Peter Pan.
Yeah,
Um just I just like Peter Pan just because sometimes I just want to go off into a different like world or something like that, and
yeah,
Neverland's kind of cool, but I think of Peter Pan as like something weird, like when Peter Pan goes into like their bedroom, like why is a mysterious like kid gonna go into your bedroom?
yeah. That's a little unnerving, huh?
Right. And then also Peter Pan also has the Indian princess, and she's
Mhm.
also a underrated Disney princess. Or not really, she's not really a Disney, well, she's a Disney princess, but she's an underrated princess, if you want to
Yeah.
call her a princess, but she's the in you know
Now Peter Pan is one of my favorite rides at Magic Kingdom,
oh yeah.
as far as, like, it's probably in my top 5, I would say. I love the ride, so I love TikTok Croc. He probably is one of the only reasons, like, why I'll sit there and watch Peter Pan. I
Right.
love TikTok Croc, so
Right. Yeah, I like that ride as well. I always ride it at night during the fireworks show because you don't have to wait like 2 hours, 3 hours for that ride.
right.
So that's why and Peter Pan, I just like it because Tinkerbell's my favorite character, even though that she's not as jealous as in this one as she is in Hook, but I just like Tinkerbell just because she's just like um she's just like the opposite of me. She's spunky, she and she's like what is it? She's spunky and she's like a diva, and I'm not. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why I like her.
Divitude.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's why I like that movie. What's your next one?
I don't have any till, like, the 1980s as far to present
Okay.
for my next set, so
Okay, so I like The Love Bug, so that's Herbie the Love Bug, and that came out in 1968. I just like that movie, how it was before its time, and just how and this is a live action one. And I just like it how it is for its time for the 1968, and how they use some of the technologies that they had at that time.
mhm.
Do you like The Love Bug? Have you seen it?
We actually, so I've seen it a few times, but then the first time that my family and I went to Disney in 2014, we stayed at the All Stars Movies Resort, and we actually got the Herbie the Love Bug area, and so we took pictures with the cars and everything. But it's a really fun movie, and I really feel like it brings like the zaniness that like Walt Disney
Mm-hmm.
loved to include in like his films, back during that time period, and it just it makes everybody feel like kid like, and you know.
Right, exactly. I just like the movie just because, it's an older movie, but it's something fun for the whole family. I mean, like, there are some parts you could tell that it's not like modernized. I mean, like, it still holds up well. It's just some parts you can tell it's not really modernized.
Right.
Um, and then my second one is this is a Russell Crowe movie, and it is The Computer with Tennis Shoes, and it's a really good movie. This is a movie before its time, and this came out in 1969. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I didn't get a chance to watch it the other day, so that is on my list for this weekend, to sit down and watch it. And I don't think my son has seen that either, so it would be kind of fun to sit down and watch it together. So, yeah.
It's a good movie. Like Kurt Russell's a college student, and and back then Disney had a lot of Kurt Russell movies,
Hmm.
and he was in a lot of Disney movies back then. And so it's one of those movies where he's like in college, and somehow something happens and he just becomes the walking computer, and it's just really interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's your next group?
My next group would be this is my big group. My favorite animated movies from 1980 to present. Um, so my most favorite animated movie of all time, Disney wise, um, is Big Hero 6.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Uh,
one.
love Baymax. It came out 2014, and the previews like weren't real, like I don't know, they weren't real descriptive. So it's kind of like you went in not really knowing what the movie was about. You just knew it was going to be about this big fluffy white thing, and so I went in not really knowing what to expect, and I really enjoyed it. I just love Baymax. I love the story of him and his brother and how they're living with the aunt, um, and Hero and Tadashi, and then you've got Baymax that comes along, and the whole part with the cat where he's hairy baby, and it cracks me up. Like I still laugh hysterically at Baymax taping his arms up when they're leaking and pushing himself through the window, and I am not
Right.
fast, and the blah blah blah. So, and you can see Baymax in the background there on the
Right.
video. I love
Oh yeah, I
Baymax.
can see him.
So yeah.
Yeah, Baymax is such a good movie. I like how they made Tokyo, San and Tokyo. I like that like city. I think they should make a city of Big Hero 6 inside Disney somewhere, just because I heard that
It would
I
be good at
think it's
Epcot, I think.
yeah, I think so too because it's futuristic.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's Tokyo, Disneyland Tokyo is getting Zootopia Land, so why can't we get um
San
the
Francisco, yeah.
yeah, why can't we get San Fran Tokyo? Because I just like Big Hero 6 because of how they immerse you in that world.
Yeah.
And everybody can relate to one of the characters in some way,
Yeah.
some shape or form. And then I also like the part where they're at what's his name's house, and there's a statue of
Fred. Yep.
yeah, and there's a statue of Hans, and they just like destroy the statue of Hans, and I just find that so funny.
And fun fact about Big Hero 6, we did not stay for the end credits in the movie theater. I did not discover this until I was watching at home, and I was sitting there jamming to the song in the end credits. And then all of a sudden, there is an end credit scene that pops up, and you have Fred in his mansion, and his dad comes home, and it is none other than Stan Lee himself. And Stan Lee from Marvel wanted to be animated into the movie, and it was just like, oh, I just was like overwhelmed with like joy and stuff. I just loved it because Stanley always has to like when he was alive, he always wanted to be incorporated into the Marvel movies somewhere, and so that was just like a neat little touch, I thought. So,
Yeah, I thought that was really cool too. I was like, wait, is that Stan Lee? I didn't know it until after the fact when it came out to Disney Plus. I did not know it either. I was like, wait, what? You know, it was like one of those surprises. So, this is one of my favorite animated movies. This came out in 1991. Um, and it's Beauty and the Beast. I just love that movie just because my personality is more like Belle's personality
mhm.
because she likes to read and I like to read and she's kind to everybody and she sees the beauty within and that's kind of how I am. I see the beauty within people and I just don't judge them for their looks and that's how she is.
Right, and she gives the Beast a chance, even though he's this creature that isn't supposed to be like appealing physically to like anybody, and she just gives him a chance and accepts him for who he is, and then it's kind of funny. There's like a fan kind of thing out there that says that when the Beast is turned back into like Prince, what was his name?
Adam.
Adam, that he was more good looking as the Beast than he was as Prince Adam. So it was like, it's just kind of funny to me. So,
But technically, that's not his name. They just made up a name. Technically, it's that he doesn't even really have a name.
okay.
It's just a made up name that somebody said.
Yeah.
So
Funny stuff.
technically, he doesn't have a name. I just like that movie just because it's set in France, and I really want to go there someday. And I just like how she just is like, nope, I'm not gonna marry you, Gaston, because Gaston's too full of himself. But
Mhm.
in my opinion, Gaston's not really a villain because he's more misunderstood than a villain, I think.
Yeah, he's just like that bully that never kind of came around to like finding his true self maybe and you know, I feel like he probably went on to find love somewhere, maybe with one of the three girls that was like swooning over him in the village. So,
Maybe. Well, don't forget he dies in the end.
oh, that's right. Well, maybe he didn't really, and maybe maybe he
Spoiler alert if you
yeah.
haven't seen the movie. Because
I
the beast
forgot about that.
don't forget the beast kind of pushes him off.
Yeah, he pushes him off the roof and he falls down the cliff. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that now.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe it's
So
Disney, so anything can happen.
right. So that's why I say technically he's not really a villain until that part, but he's just misunderstood, really.
Yeah.
So what's your next one?
So on my list of favorite animated movies from 1980 to present, I also have the Goofy movie.
That's
I
such a good one.
I love the music in that movie, and I love the storyline of Goofy being a single dad and Max and Powerline is just really cool. The music and the characters throughout. I love this. I crack up laughing so much that I cry. The scene where Goofy and Max go into the little tourist area where there's like possums and stuff, and they're like, "Who's your favorite possum?" And I just love that part. It's so
Right.
cute. It's so fun. So that came out in 1995. But one of my other favorite animated movies is Emperor's New Groove.
Oh, I love
Uh,
that one.
David Spade is in that as a llama, and I think John Goodman plays Pacha.
Yeah, he
And
does.
uh, I love that movie. Yzma is my favorite villain. So I just love Yzma and the part where she turns into the cat at the end. Is that my voice? And it's just hilarious. But I also have The Lion King, which came out in 1994. I mean, tearjerker. That movie. Every
Right.
time I hear the circle of life, whether it's in the movie, the animated, the live action, if it's in the musical, I cry. It's just one of those songs that gets me. It just gets me. Um, love the movie. Um, Zazu and and Scar and Mufasa and everybody. So
Right. Yeah.
then I also have Mulan. I feel like Mulan doesn't get like a lot of um, like I feel like people forget about Mulan, but I love the soundtrack in that movie. I love the story, how she's like, I don't need to be married and I'm going to go to war for and fight
Hmm.
in my dad's place. And it's just such a great movie about her being a heroine, even when she shouldn't have been. So, yeah.
Right. So, a Goofy movie is underrated Disney movie, and so is Emperor's New Groove. I really like both of those just because it's kind of cool to see Goofy in a different like light that you would never see Goofy in because everybody thinks Goofy's just like Goofy, just like funny.
Hmm.
And it's kind of weird. It's kind of not weird, but it's kind of fun to see him in like a role where he's like a role model for somebody.
Yeah, like a dad role. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always love Powerline. I love Powerline. I think they should change Rock and Roller Coaster to Powerline.
That would be awesome if they ever decided to do that. So,
And I also like Pauly Shore's character in this movie. He's so funny.
yes. Yeah, I wish he was in it a little bit more. It's a leaning tower of Jesus, you know?
Yeah, and I'm just like, did he just take spray cheese and just put it on him on like his hand or something? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And so Emperor's New Groove, I just like that movie just because it goes to show you how like when a person is like full of themselves and he's like, I'm gonna rule the kingdom,
Yeah.
and then he learns that he should not be so selfish, and
Mhm.
it just has a good message overall. And I also like the part where where she goes, pull the lever, and they both go, and
Wrong lever.
yeah, and they go down to the floor. That's such a funny scene. And then The Lion King, I just love that movie, and I just love the culture that it's in, and it's just one of those good movies that you can watch anytime.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, like, yeah, it does make you sad at some parts, especially when Mufasa dies,
Yeah,
and it
what Disney movie doesn't? I think that's like it's almost part
right,
of Disney movies. Like you have to feel sad at some point to
right.
yeah.
And it's just one of those movies that it's like Simba's becoming himself.
Mhm.
He's like learning like I have to survive in the wilderness, and Pumbaa and Timon come, but I find that so funny the part where they go, he's a lion cub, and run away, and then he kind of wakes up and they feel bad for him, so they kind of take him in, and it's just such a cute movie, but it's also sad at the same time.
Yeah.
And then my movies, I have the Little Mermaid, which came out in 1988. I like Ariel, and I just like what she stands for. And Ursula's such a good villain. She's not my favorite villain, but she's such a good villain.
Mhm.
And I like that movie just because she's learning to become herself versus what her father wants her to become.
Yeah.
And I have The Great Mouse Detective that came out in 1986, the year I was born. And that's such just like an underrated movie. That's like one of the underrated Disney movies. And
Mhm.
it doesn't get enough love, even though that it for the time it has good animation for its time. And it's just one of those movies. I mean, like, yes, it does have smoking in it and stuff like Pinocchio, but it's just one of those really like good movies.
Yeah, I think it's been like at least 10 years or so or longer since I've seen that movie, so I need to go back and rewatch it too.
Right. And then I also have the Law Atlantis, The Lost Empire that came out in 2001.
Love that movie.
And that is such an underrated Disney movie as well.
Yeah.
And I just like and also she's also an underrated Disney princess, but technically they don't call her a Disney princess. But
She's the princess of Atlantis, so she should
yeah,
be. I mean, come on.
yeah, but technically she's not part of the main princesses.
Yeah.
But I just like this movie and how they like find how Michael J. Fox finds the treasure of Atlantis, and nobody knew that there were like people that were living there, and it's just a really fun and interesting movie.
I like how the technology clashes with like, you know, the current time that, the movie was set, like that technology of Atlantis clashes with like everybody else, like with the time period that like Milo and the explorers come from, and they're like, whoa, you've got flying cars, and it's
Right.
just kind of neat how it kind of
I
all plays out.
and I didn't like the second one as much. Like everybody knows that I'm not really a sequel type of person. So I didn't like the second one as much. To me it was kind of boring.
Yeah.
You know, and then I also have Lilo and Stitch, which came out in 2002. And that movie, I just like that movie just because it's set in Hawaii and it's such a beautiful movie. Even though that she's like a little punk, I guess you want to say, or like a little brat, I guess you want to say. Um, but I just love the relationship with Lilo and Stitch. And then in the end, her sister kind of comes in, and I just love that movie.
Yeah. You were talking about Disney princesses. My favorite Disney princess is Rapunzel. And so Tangled came out in 2010. And I just love how she uses a frying pan like to whack everybody. And it's like so efficient.
Right.
And she, my favorite scene in all of Disney uh, movies overall is the lantern scene when she's on the boat and the lanterns rise, and it's almost like she has that light bulb moment where these are for me, these are for my birthday. So it's just like I just love that scene. And
It's Single's such a great movie. I like that movie. I think Flynn Rider and Rapunzel are such a funny couple together because they're just so funny. And he's the only one that says I smolder, and I'm like,
yeah,
what? What the heck
yeah,
is a smolder?
yeah,
You know. And then I also like when he's like, why is everybody randomly singing? And it's a Disney movie, and
hmm,
he's like, why is everybody randomly singing? So they are like the funniest couple. I mean, like I like them, but they're just the funniest couple ever.
yeah. And Pascal has to be one of my favorite animal sidekicks to a princess.
Mhm.
Also, um, he's just he's just so cute. I just love him.
Right?
So
Yeah, I met Rapunzel at Magic Kingdom. You can meet her and Elena. And Elena is also kind of like a underrated Disney princess, but she is like for like little kids, so you don't really hear about her too much.
right,
And I like her as well. But Rapunzel was talking to me, and she was talking about Pascal, and she's like, Pascal's getting into mischief and just being like all silly and stuff. And I was just like, that's so funny. And I was
yeah,
like, and I told her, where's Flynn? Oh, Flynn's catching my horse right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. It was just funny.
that's cute.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite Disney princesses is Tiana.
Oh, I love Tiana,
And
Princess and the
Princess and
Frog.
the Frog. I love, 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 love that movie. I love the culture of New Orleans. The Shadow Man is probably my number two.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, he's probably my third favorite villain. I love his character. I love the guy,
Right.
the voices his character. I can't remember who that is at the moment. Um, but I just love the whole
Right.
thing. The animation is really pretty. Mama Odie is so like out there and crazy, and Lewis the alligator crocodile, he's really cool. So
Right, yeah. I like Princess and the Frog. I just like that culture, and I like how she's like not she's like a princess, but because of Naveen, but she's also like one of those princesses that's like I don't need to be royal to be like I want to open up my own restaurant and stuff like that.
yeah,
So that's why I like her and can relate to her.
yeah,
And I like the song when Dr. Facilier, I can't even talk,
hmm,
is is singing, and that's such like a good song, and you get to see these like creepy ghosts come out and stuff, and
yeah,
it's just really, and also the scenery in that movie is really beautiful as
yeah.
well.
It's New Orleans is on my bucket list to visit one day, so I would love to go
Let's
visit.
go. I have friends that live there, so let's
Oh,
go.
yeah, let's do it.
And then one of my other favorites is Oliver and Company. It's such a good movie. This movie came out in 1988, and it's just such a great movie to watch. If you look in the beginning scene when he's singing, you can see a whole bunch of Disney characters, a whole bunch of dog Disney characters. Like there's some people from like Lady and the Tramp, 101 Dalmatians, and it's just a good like round movie.
It's awesome.
Have you seen that one?
It's been a while also since I've seen that one. It's funny because I always pick like I don't know like favorites that and it seems like I just forget about the others. So I need to go back and rewatch Oliver and Company.
Right.
Also, it's probably been a while since I've seen it, and I kind of get like that movie mixed up with like Aristocats. So I need to
Oh,
like
okay.
yeah. So I need to go back and rewatch both of those to kind of like remember what
Right.
happens.
And then I also have Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but that's not really a, it's kind of like a live action type animation movie. I just put it in that section just because I like that movie, and that movie came out in 1988 as well. And I just like how Roger Rabbit is trying to find out who framed him, and he runs into Jessica Rabbit, and she's kind of risky now, but it was just like a good movie how they did like animation like that in live action. It kind of reminds me of Mary Poppins a little bit too.
Right. Yeah. One of my other favorite live action, or not my live, well, I guess I could switch to live action, but one of my favorite live actions is Pete's Dragon. And so I like the new one. The new version came out in 2016. I love it. Um, he's just, Elliot is just adorable and it's so heartwarming. But then my number one favorite live actions Remember the Titans.
Oh, that's such a good movie with Denzel Washington.
Yeah, and that one's based on a true story. There's so many scenes in that movie that are just so relatable to today, and um, you know, it's it's just wonderful to see it. It's historical in value too. Like a lot of this actually happened. So you know,
Right.
so I just love it, and I don't know. I'll go on Google every now and then and Google some of the people that were actually in it just to see like what they're up to today or whatever. So
That's really cool. Yeah. Remember the Titans is such a good movie. It's a heart-filled movie as well. And Peach Dragon, I do not like that movie too much. I'm not gonna say it's like my least favorite, but I just don't know why I don't like it. There's just some reason I just don't like Pete's Dragon as much, but it's still a good movie,
yeah,
and people should at least watch it once. I think I watched the original one the other day, and I was like, wait, why am I watching this?
yeah.
That one was a little bit horrible to watch.
I watched the original, where it's like a hybrid
Hmm.
of animation and live action, and I was like, what am I watching? Because it was so
Yeah.
different from the new one.
Hmm.
So usually I'm not a fan of like Disney remaking movies, like, if it's a cartoon and
Right.
they remake it into live action or whatever. But that one I fully
Right.
like the recent version of it
Hmm.
over the original for sure.
Hmm. And then on your list, you also have Brother Bear, which I love this movie. It's
Oh,
an
yes.
underrated movie. So
People
when
forget about it. It's just I love the
right,
story of the brothers and Alaska, and Alaska's I want to visit Alaska as well. So it's just like I don't know, I love that it's kind of like a lesson in like how, Kenai and they all I don't know, I love it.
yeah,
It's so good.
it's one of my favorite movies as well. A lot of people do not like this movie, and I don't get why. Maybe it's
Yeah.
because of the animation or the storyline or something. But I just think it's like a really good movie, and the scenery is very beautiful. And like he's like trying to become his own like person, because before he was kind of like a bad person. So
Mhm.
he's like coming into himself, and it's such a good underrated movie. This movie came out in 2002, I think. Oh, 2003, I'm wrong.
2003, yeah.
And it's one of those movies that everybody can kind of relate to. And then you also have Mulan, which I love Mulan. We touched on that one. And then you also have Wreck-It Ralph. I love that movie.
Wreck-It Ralph is another one of those that I had no clue what I was getting myself into. I didn't even know it was a video game in an arcade or anything. Um, we're movie buffs, so we tend to just go watch movies, especially Disney movies, without even watching a preview.
Yeah, I do the same
So,
thing.
but I love Ralph and Vanellope in that. It's kind of like a a friend
Mhm.
relationship, or almost like older brother, younger sister kind of thing, and how he gets her her character restored in the video game, and how he helps her kind of do that. And so it's so
Right.
cute.
And I just like the character King Candy. He just cracks me up, and he's not
Mhm.
actually King Candy, and he disguises himself as,
Turbo.
yeah, as
Yeah.
Turbo. And I'm just like interesting. And then I find it interesting that Jane Lynch plays this like macho like woman type of thing, and
Mhm.
what is it, Hero something, and um and I
Hero's Duty, I think, is the name of
yeah,
the game she's in. Yeah.
yeah, and then her and Felix eventually have a relationship, and I'm like,
Which is
what?
hilarious.
What's going on?
Yeah.
You know, and John C. Riley is such a good actor,
Mhm.
and I think he's the only person that could play Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah. I can't. It's funny how when Disney casts characters and, as voices or even in live action, like I can never imagine them as someone different. So if they have to like switch a voice or a character out, like I just can't imagine them as somebody different. So
Right. What did you think of Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet?
I like it. I still like the first one a little better. But it's cool how Vanellope enters the room with like all the Disney princesses and you kind of see them all,
Yeah.
and it's kind of neat. And I like Yes's character
Hmm.
in the second one. So,
And I also think this one's kind of underrated movie because a lot of people don't watch this one
mhm.
as much as well. So in my opinion, I think it's an underrated movie, but people, you could tell me what you think of it. And then also Zootopia. A lot of people don't like this one as
Oh,
well.
love Zootopia. Just imagining a land where animals exist harmoniously, where you've got carnivores and, the omnivores and the vegetarians, like they're all like living together
Right.
in like one giant land. And it would be so cool if Disney could figure out how to do a Zootopia land and have it actually go through like the different areas
Mhm.
in the megalopolis of Zootopia. So
Like I was saying, they are making it. I think it's Tokyo Disneyland. They are making Zootopia Land there, and it'll be really cool to see because I probably won't be able to go to Tokyo, but maybe someday.
yeah, maybe.
Um, and I just think it would be so cool to see something like that. And I think this movie's relatable to like everybody and current events because there's this virus that's outbreaking and they don't know how to control it and stuff like that. And I just find it funny, Judy Hopps and
Nick
what's his name?
Wilde. Nick
Yeah, Nick
Wilde.
Wilde. They're just a funny type of
Like a duo.
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a funny like duo because she has to be right and he's like no. And I love Flash the Dash. He's so
Oh
funny.
yes. Flash, flash, 50-yard dash.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's so funny because I like that. I like when he go when Nick goes and tells him a joke and he's like being so slow. And then at the end you see him, he's like they pull him over and it's just so funny
Ha.
when he's in the,
Ha. Yeah.
and then it's so funny and when he gets in the like I don't know what kind of car. It's like some kind of sports car and he's like
Yeah.
going really fast and stuff. It's just so funny. I'm like, wait, wasn't he just slow in those scenes like before that?
Yeah.
And I just like that movie. It's a good all-round movie and it has a lot of famous people in this movie.
Yeah.
And then you also like Frozen.
Yeah, Frozen's on my list. It's another one of those where the preview did not tell you anything about the movie. The only preview I ever saw for Frozen, I think, was Sven, the reindeer, out on the ice, and he's like falling and like, or he's trying to get a carrot. I can't remember what exactly it was now, but that's all you saw in the preview. So when you get
Right.
there, And it's like, I can totally relate to Elsa because at the time, I'm not so much anymore. I used to be a lover of winter. And so it was just like, I'm Elsa because like I'm like the ice queen or whatever. And
Right.
I love just the twist. I did not see the uh Hans being a villain
Mhm.
until right before it happened. Like I did not see it at all. I was like, this guy's awesome. Like I want him and Anna to get married. And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm going to kill you and take over Arendelle. And it's like, whoa. So,
Right. Yeah, I can relate to Anna and Elsa. But I prefer Anna Ep versus versus Elsa, just because Anna's like the younger sister, and like a lot of my friends are older, so I'm basically like the younger sister and a lot of
mhm,
my friends. And I just like how she's just like so like she's just so like I'm energetic and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do and stuff like that, you know, especially when she's bringing Hans to Elsa and she's like, I'm gonna get married. And I also really like the relationship that Elsa and Hans have together, because they're kind of a funny duo as well,
mhm.
you know. And I like the part when not Hans, what's his name? I forget what his name is.
Kristoff.
Kristoff, yeah,
Yeah.
not Hans. I don't know what I'm talking about. Um, and um, and so I like when Kristoff goes, "You're just gonna marry a guy you just met," and it's just
Yeah.
kind of funny. And I love Olaf. He's like one of my favorite characters in Frozen.
One of my favorite characters in Frozen that he only gets like a minute of time is his name just flew my brain, but the guy that's the merchant, and he's like, "Ooh, big summer blowout," you know, and I love him. He's pretty awesome, and you can see him before you get on the ride uh, at at Disney World and Epcot. So it's the movie just I don't know, I love it. It's just so beautiful.
Right.
The music, the animation, and Marshmallow is hilarious, the big
Oh
snow
yeah.
monster.
Oh yeah.
uh, so he's pretty cool. So
One of my favorite songs from that movie is "Love's an Open Door." I love that
mhm.
movie. That song. I know everybody doesn't. A lot of people don't like "Let It Go," but I like that one because a lot of people could relate to that song as well. But a lot of moms are like bored of that song,
Yeah,
you know, or the kids play it over and over again. Do you like Frozen 2 as well, or do you just like
I
the
like
first one?
Frozen too, but I'm like when they killed Olaf, I was just like, I don't like this movie. I don't like this movie because I was just like, they can't kill Olaf and like Elsa
Right.
both at the same time, and it just I like I like Frozen too in the fact that it kind of takes you more like through fall. I like autumn time.
Uh,
And then, it's neat because it kind of shows you, how Arendelle came to be and the history of Arendelle, which was kind of cool. So,
right. Yeah. I actually like this one. I know I say I'm not a sequel person, but I actually like this one a lot better because I love the song "To the Unknown," and
mhm.
just because you get to learn more about Elsa and how people could relate to her character, and I just like that one
Yeah.
a little bit more, because to me the first one was kind of boring. I'm sorry to say it was kind of boring, but
It's
I mean,
it's
like,
kind of
I
setting up the storyline. I feel like there was a lot of setup in the first one. So in the second one, you already have like the characters built,
Mhm.
and so you know what to expect from the characters. So then you're learning more about,
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, like, I do like Frozen. I don't have anything against the first one. I just, you know, and then your other movie was Cinderella.
Cinderella is one of my favorite Disney princesses, and she it's just like a rags to riches story, and the stepsisters and the stepmother, and Lucifer is absolutely
Oh, I love him.
hilarious, and Jacques and Gus Gus, like Gus Gus has to be one of my favorite, like,
Right.
I don't know, sub characters in a Disney animated movie. I just love him. He's so cute, and I just
Right.
love how all the little animals make Cinderella's dress, and they like help her, and then they've got the fairy godmother that comes in the pumpkin, and it's
Right.
just really cool.
I like Cinderella because I can also relate to her. She's my second favorite Disney princess besides Belle. Because I can relate to her because I'm nice and I like the quote that she says, "Have courage and be kind to everybody." And
Yeah.
that's what I try to do. And she's just a fun character. And I just like that movie as well. So then we have live action movies. So what is your live action?
Well, I already kind of mentioned Remember the Titans and Pete's Dragon, but then I also like Cool Runnings,
Oh yeah,
and
that's a good one.
it's based on a true story about the Jamaican bobsled team, and it's just like how they're trying to mimic some of the other bobsled teams, but then they realize that they do better when they act like themselves and don't try to be the sweets as they call them in the movie.
Right.
So then
And
another one of my favorite live actions is McFarland USA, and it's about a cross country team of migrant kids that like go to a high school, and the coach comes to coach the team, and he's never been a cross country coach before, and so it's just a fun movie. I just really enjoyed it, and
I have
you
not
know,
seen that one, so I will have to check that one out. Um, but I do like what what movie was it? Forget. Sorry. Um,
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings. Yeah, I find that that's such a good movie, and it's so funny. And I love John Candy movies. I
Yeah,
wish I wish he didn't die so young,
I know, I know.
but it's
Yeah,
really sad. So I have The Rocketeer that came out in 1991, and that's such a really good like classic movie, and it's such an underrated film.
I just watched that for the first time. Um, when was that? I think back in the spring, I just watched that for the first time. So
What did you think of it?
I really liked it. I liked you know, I can't remember the main character's name, but how he's kind of like an underdog, and how he's like
Right.
trying to win the heart of the girl, and it's just a neat movie. I really
Yeah,
did like it. So
it's a really good movie, and it came out in 1991, so it has a lot of like stuff you could relate to today, and it holds up very well for that for being like almost 30 years old, you know.
right.
And then I have the Mighty Ducks. I religiously watched these like all three of them as a teenager. Like I love these movies. It's such a fun like hockey movie. Have you seen any of those?
I have seen all of them, but I only really remember a lot of what happens in the first one. And then we started watching the new Disney Plus show, but we kind of forgot about it. So I need to go back and kind of pick that up again
Oh,
and
that
watch
was
it. So
that was really good because you get to see the old characters, some of the old characters from the original, and I love Lauren Graham, so I watch anything that she's in
I do too. Yeah.
because I really love Gilmore Girls, and so she's one of my favorite actors, so I'll watch that. And then I also have Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl, which in my opinion out of all of the Pirates of the Caribbean series, that's the most underrated one.
Yeah. My favorite Pirates of the Caribbean was probably the last one, not because it's the last one, just because of I loved the how the villains kind of in the previous films kind of came back, and they were
Right.
all going like for the same purpose, and that was to free uh,
Mm-hmm.
Orlando Bloom's character. His name just escaped my brain, but when they were trying to
Will
free
Turner.
him, yeah, when they were trying to free Will Turner from Davy Jones' locker and reunite him, so it's I love that whole film series. I love the music. I love, and it's
Mm-hmm.
cool how the ride kind of spawned all of that,
Right.
the ride came before the movies, and
Right.
it's just really cool.
I like how Johnny Depp plays a drunk pirate, and it's just so funny. He just went wild with that character, I think.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your other ones that you have for
Live
live action?
action, I have Holes,
That's a
and
good one.
that is the story about Stanley Yelnats and how his family is like cursed, and so he is wrongfully accused of stealing these tennis shoes, and ends up at this like work camp for teenagers, like for troubled teenagers, and they give everybody a nickname, and I love the whole thing, like how you figure out the storyline of why they're looking for the buried treasure, and
Yeah, and
why there's holes, and there used to be a lake there, and it's just a I just love that movie.
that was before Shia LaBeouf went crazy,
Yeah, yeah, I love
and
it's
and
a
he
good
was
movie.
on Even Stevens at that time too. I think
Okay, I've never watched that one. I'll have to check it out.
it's on Disney Plus. It's about a family, and I also really like the book Holes. That was a good book. They made you read it in school. And I just like the whole movie just because John Voight's in it, and it's just like one of
Yeah.
those movies, and they're relatable characters, and it's just a fun one.
Hmm.
One of my other favorites, I have Enchanted. Have you seen that one?
I have. I've only seen it a couple of times, but I love the part when the hamster like gets excited and he poops.
Hmm. Yeah,
I love that part.
and then
It's so cute.
I like because McSteamy is in this movie, Patrick Dempsey's in this movie,
Mhm.
and it's just so funny how his character kind of like is in this movie, and it's just a all round fun movie if you like musicals. Then I have my favorite villain, which is Maleficent,
Oh,
um,
yes.
which came out.
Beastie.
Yeah. So Enchanted came out in 2007, and Maleficent, I can't talk today, came out in 2014. And I just like how they took the character from Sleeping Beauty and made her into like this like all around like character, and you find out why she's the way she is and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And it's just a great movie.
Yeah. I like the backstory on that, and, you don't get any of that in Sleeping Beauty, and then you find out that the reason why she's a villain is because her wings were stolen from her, and it's such a good movie, and I was so hoping that she and the original the prince that actually stole her wings from her. I wish that they could have like worked it out in the end, but
Right.
so
Yeah. And then your last live action, the game plan, that's a funny one.
the game plan with Dwayne the Rock Johnson has it's just hilarious. He finds out that he's a dad, and that his daughter comes to live with him because her mom is supposedly in Africa on a trip, and then you end up finding out at the end of the movie that her mom really passed away, and she's being taken care of by her aunt, and so it's kind of about him, and like how he's being like he's selfish and how he's self-centered, and allergic to cinnamon. That's like one of my favorite lines in the movie. I
Yeah.
love it. And he ends up being a good dad, and falling in love with his daughter, and they build that relationship, and he ends up fighting for her, to keep her in his life, and it's just an all around good movie. So
It's a fun movie. I liked it. I like how she destroys his house and he gets so upset, and it's
yeah.
just so funny. So that movie came out in 2007, and it's on Disney Plus as well. So you can
Hmm.
check it out there, and it's just a funny movie. If you want a good laugh, put that movie on.
Yeah, and he sings in that movie. The Rock,
Yeah.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson actually sings, and he's a really good singer. And he's like obsessed with Elvis in the movie, so he sings like Elvis
Yeah.
songs, and it's just all around. I
And then
think
my other one is Hocus Pocus that came out in 1993. That's a Halloween movie, and you guys can go see what my thoughts are on that one um on 2 episodes ago. I did a episode on Hocus Pocus, and I just like that movie just because it's hilarious and the witches and stuff like that. Do you like
right.
Hocus Pocus?
I have to admit, I'm not a Hocus Pocus fan. but
Hmm.
I have not seen the movie probably since it came out, like way back. I'm not even sure
Okay.
when it came out, but it's I don't the characters were hard to follow. Like I
Right.
remember like it was just kind of I need to go back and rewatch it, especially since I think there's a sequel coming out
There
soon.
is, yeah.
So I need to go back and rewatch that. So
And then my other one is Christopher Robin, which Hocus Pocus came out in 1993, and then my other one's Christopher Robin that came out in 2018, and it has Ewan McGregor, and it's just like a good movie because you get to relive the classic Winnie the Pooh.
mhm,
So I just like that movie.
yeah.
Have you seen that one?
I have seen all of those and I would rather watch the live action Winnie the Pooh than the animated Winnie the Pooh. And
Hmm.
Eeyore is like one of my favorite classic Disney characters. I just love
Right.
Eeyore. His attitude and his outlook on life is it's just like it's just so gloomy all the time, but he's just so
Right.
cute. You can't help but
Um,
love him.
my favorite character is Tigger because he's the opposite of me, and also it was my mom's favorite character, so that's why I kind of like Tigger. And then I have Mary Poppins that came out in 1964. I just love Julie Andrews and how she is that character, how she is Mary Poppins. The new one was okay, um but and but I like the original one the best.
Mm,
And then I have Chronicles of Narnia, which isn't technically a Disney movie, but it is on Disney Plus just because it's a Fox movie, and that
right.
came out in 2005, and it's just a pretty good fantasy movie. It's not really technically a Disney movie, but because Fox owns Disney, I just like
Mhm.
that movie.
It is. I love the storylines in all three of those movies that's come out so far. My daughter's read the books, and she's kind of hopeful that they'll either go back and redo the movies,
Hmm.
or redo them in order of the books, and kind of put it out there. But I love Aslan and the
Hmm.
picture that and he sacrifices himself for
Right.
basically everybody else with the Witch Queen, and she's the the lady that plays her is she's also in Doctor Strange, and
Yes.
she's such a good
She's
actress, and
Yeah, I like her a lot too. And
so
then I have John Carter, the and that movie is about where he goes to Mars and he falls in love with the princess from Mars, and it's just another fantasy movie. This came out in 2012. This is another underrated movie. It's also a book, and this book came out in like the 70s or the 60s, and it's just all around good movie, and it's a fantasy movie. Have you seen that one?
I've only seen it once, but I love anything sci-fi, so I definitely it's in my wheelhouse of movies that I love to watch. I
Mhm.
just kind of usually forget about it, and um,
Right.
but I really liked it when it came out. So yeah,
So now we're moving on to Pixar movies. What are some of your favorite
Pixar.
Pixar?
Pixar. Um, my absolute favorite movie in Pixar is Inside Out. I love the different emotions. I love Bing Bong. He's also in the background here. Um, Bing Bong is he just it's gut wrenching when he disappears and the pit. And but I love the movie about how Riley's trying to fit in, with like a new city and everything, and she moves, and it's just I just love sadness and how Joy is like the character I kind of like relate to most as far as Disney characters go, because I feel like I always try to be like joyful, but then I'm like Joy in the sense to where I don't feel like sadness should be a part of my life, but sadness and joy and anger and fear and um, disgust kind of all fit into our everyday lives, and we should kind of embrace those emotions. So it's just such a I just love that. It's so cute. Everything. So
Right. Yeah. I I really like Inside Out because like it tells this movie out of the Disney movie collections or whatever you want to call it. This movie can relate to everyone because we all go through the same emotions as all these characters. My favorite character is Joy because I always want to be Joy and everything and I just like how I Bing Bong's one of my favorite characters too. And Inside Out is just one of those movies where we can feel with Riley, we can feel all her emotions, and
Mm-hmm.
then it has a great cast because of all the people that played the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like how they just take like a ball and just put it on, and that's what she thinks. And I like the dad's emotions because it's so funny. The dad's emotions, his main emotion is anger, and it's just so funny to see like these different emotions and how the family works together. And then the mom's emotion, her main
Right.
emotion is like sadness, and it's just funny how all these emotions like work together. And I just liked the movie.
Yeah. My next favorite would be Up, and it was my favorite movie. It came out in 2009, and Inside Out came out in 2015. So it was my favorite Pixar movie before Inside Out came out. But Up, the whole story of Carl and Ellie, and Carl flying his house to the falls, and Kevin and Doug and Russell, and you know the whole thing, and it's such a good like heartwarming movie. And I watched it in the movie theater with my grandma,
Right.
and I think that's another reason why it's one of my favorites, is because I remember that was probably one of the last movies I saw with her, and we just both sat there and bawled together when Ellie died, and so
Right.
it's just such a good movie.
Yeah, I like Up as well. It's one of my favorite Pixar movies. I know a lot of people don't really like Up, but it's such a great movie. And then you also have Coco, which I really like that movie.
Coco is one of those movies, like I love like Mexican culture, so it brings in the celebration of Day of the Dead, and again you find out that the one person that you think is the hero ends up being the villain, and he killed Coco's father. And so it's just I love the beauty of it, the how he goes throughout the land, and he's searching for Hector, and it's just really heartwarming, a good feel good movie.
Right, yeah. And Dante's like my favorite character in that movie. He's so cute. And I just like how that movie is about family and just having family together. And then you also like Monsters Inc. I love this movie. Sully's like my favorite character.
Yeah, he's probably one of my husband's favorite characters. My husband and I, as far as Disney couples go, we relate the most to like Mike Wazowski and Celia. So he's Googly Bear and I'm Schmoopsy Poo.
That's funny.
So, but we saw that movie. I like just by ourselves. Like our daughter wasn't even born yet. So it's a good movie though.
Right, yeah. I like when they first meet Boo and stuff like that, and she kind of sneaks into their monster world. And then you also have Luca, which is a really good movie. I really like that one. And that one
Silencio
just came out.
Bruno.
Yeah, yeah. Find your Inter Bruno. And
It
that's just like a good movie.
it is good. I really like the story of it, and how at the end they kind of find out there's a few of the other townspeople have been the sea
Yeah,
monsters living in the town the whole time, and nobody knew. And so it's like, oh, okay,
right,
it's normal now. So
right. And I love all the hidden Easter eggs in Luca, and I like how they're like wanting to go on Vespas, and it's just a
Mhm.
great movie. I want some of the pasta in that movie.
Yeah, I know. Looks really
And
good.
then you have Ratatouille.
Ratatouille is one of my favorites just because it revolves around food. And again, like
Right.
I want to eat everything. Like I still haven't had the actual dish ratatouille. And it was actually, I wanted this past trip when we went to Disney World, I wanted to eat at the castle the Be Our Guest restaurant and get ratatouille, but they've taken it off the menu.
Right.
So I still have yet to try ratatouille, but it just looks really good, and I love Remy. He's so cute, and how he's
Right.
controlling, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
So
like that movie too. I haven't tried Ratatouille either, and I want to try it. And I like Remy. He's such a cute character, and he makes all this like good food. I want to try some of his good food. And then
mhm.
you have Brave. I love that movie, Brave.
Brave, I love because of the Scottish kind of culture, and how
Hmm.
she's just like, I don't need a man, and I'm going to fight for my own hand. And
Right.
she kind of has that struggle with her mom.
Right.
And the really kind of neat thing about Brave is there's not really a designated villain. Like you
Right.
have the bear that kind of turned into like, like he was full,
Right.
you know, and he's kind of like a villain kind of character, but there
Hmm.
isn't just a designated villain. So it's just kind of I kind of look at it as like a coming of age kind of story, and how
Hmm.
they all kind of realize that Merida doesn't need a husband to be,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I like her character. I like Merida just because you can become like anything you want to be, and she's like, nope, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and if you don't like it, oh well,
Yep.
and that's why I like hers. So mine is Toy Story, the first one. I really love this movie because it was the first Pixar movie that I got to see in the movie theater, and I just fell in love with the characters and how the toys come to life, and everybody can kind of relate to Woody and Buzz because we all have kind of like a love and hate relationship with some of our friends. So that's why I like that one. And then I have Soul. I just loved this movie. It's kind of like Inside Out, but a little bit different.
Hmm.
And I love Mr. Mittens. He's like my favorite character.
He is really cute, and I like 22 a lot, and how she kind of goes along
Yeah.
with Joe, and she's trying to discover her
Hmm.
own um, identity, I guess, throughout the whole thing. So,
Right. Yeah. And it's just an interesting movie. And if you like jazz, then this is a movie for you. A lot of people didn't like this movie. It came out around Christmas time last year, and it was
mhm.
just a great movie. And
we
then I
got
also,
we got snowed in for Christmas that year, so I think we watched it like 3 or 4 times the day it came out on Disney
oh,
Plus. So,
wow.
yeah.
That's pretty funny. And then I have Onward. I love this movie because who doesn't like Chris Pratt from Star Lord as Guardians of the Galaxy and Tom Holland as Spider Man? And I just like how these two they're kind of like a funny duo together.
Mhm.
And I just like how they go on this adventure trying to find their dad and everything like that. And I just think it's a fun like show.
Yeah,
And it's just a fun movie.
it's cute how they're elves, and then there's like different like mythological
Mhm.
creatures like in the whole
Movie.
movie. Yep.
And it's just an interesting like movie, and you're going on an adventure, and it's just a fun movie. I have we already said Monsters University, because I like that one as well. And then I have Cars. I'm probably one of the very few people that actually like Cars because a lot of people don't like Cars. I just like Cars because Mater's like my one of my favorite characters,
Mater is
and
cute.
and Lightning McLean in the beginning is kind of full of himself because he wins the cup and this and that. But towards the end it becomes like a really good movie, and I just like how they made race cars come to life.
I really think uh, Disney should retheme some of like the park after Cars. I know
Hmm.
they have like the one attraction in Hollywood Studios right now, but I think like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad would be really easily turned into like a Radiator Springs, and you could like retheme it
Right.
into Cars. And I really like Cars. I like the soundtrack. I like the
Right.
storyline of how he kind of destroys the town, and then he
Hmm.
kind of has to redo everything, and he makes friends
Right.
along the way and discovers that he doesn't need to have all that fame
Right.
to.
Actually, the ride test track is a similar track to the one in Disneyland. Disneyland has Radiator Springs,
Okay.
and my friends that have a friend that lives in California, and she goes to Disneyland all the time, and she said it's more like, and my other friend said the same thing. It's more like test track than it would be Thunder Mountain, but they
Mhm.
could put it Thunder Mountain as Radiator Springs if they wanted to, but it's kind of like that type of thing.
Yeah, I think when they retheme Splash Mountain to be Princess and the Frog, that I don't think Big Thunder Mountain's going to be like it'll really fit in to
Yeah,
that
I don't.
land anymore. So it's almost like they're going to have to retheme that whole land from Frontierland to something else. I don't
Yeah,
even know,
I
like,
agree. I
so
agree. And then my last Pixar movie is The Incredibles. I just love this movie just because they're a superhero family and each of them have their own powers and it's
right.
just a fun movie. And you just go on to a fun adventure and I just like it.
Whose power would you choose to have if you could choose one of their powers?
I'd probably want to have Jack's powers because he has all these different
Or the
powers
different
that they don't
ones?
know of. And he would just be a fun character to play.
Yeah. I think like as a mom, like I kind of relate to Helen and how she's Elastigirl and like how she's like multitasking and everything. But then I also kind of relate to Violet since she's like so shy and everything. And like I'm really shy until you get to know me usually. And so it's just kind of in her superpower is kind of really cool. So with the force
Right.
fields and stuff. But
Right. I also kind of would want Jaster's powers too because he can run kind of fast as
mhm.
well. But I mean, like, I like all their powers. All their powers suit them as well. And then I like their friend Frozone. His powers are pretty cool.
Frozone is probably my favorite character in the movie, and it's where's my super suit? Like I just
Yeah.
love him, and it's just
Mhm.
cool how he is Frozone, and then he's also in the Marvel movies and stuff, which that's a whole nother day, I
Right.
guess too. So,
Right. And I also like Edna. She's so funny. Edna.
hmm
She's so funny. Edna L mode. She's so funny. And she's so sassy, and I just like her character.
no capes, no capes.
Yeah, she's just so funny. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You guys know where to find me on Instagram or Facebook, Popping the Popcorn, and I hope you had a great time, Shawna.
I did. Thank you so much. And if you want to reach out and movie chat with me, I'm on Instagram as well. My name is Tootsie Pop 81 on it's a nickname my husband gave me. So
Oh, okay.
so I am Tootsie Pop 81 on Instagram. And so just I hope everybody liked it and I had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye.